Let's come on to the excavation in 1990.
Um,
Now, tell us first, Alan, about John Carr, because I think he wrote an article about the church that you mentioned earlier that you bought, trying to claim it was Norman. Is that right?
yeah,
12th
what happened?
century.
John Carr, they were going to appoint a head of Cadw, Welsh heritage, really. And I didn't get an interview. But John Carr, from Nottingham in England, knowing nothing about Welsh history, he got the job.
Right.
And it's a hopeless appointment. He's not a historian for a start. He shouldn't have been given the bloody job, but he got the job. He worked 21 years for Thompson Press, so work it out. Anyway, he suddenly, around before Christmas of 1990, right?
1990.
No, maybe 89, 90. He's right
89,
this
90,
article.
yeah.
And it played in the press, and it just simply said, St. Peter's Supermontum Church, is a 12th century Norman building. Well, people are ringing us up and saying, what's this about? What's this one column about St. Peter's being...
And you'd already declared it to be the oldest church
Hang on, yeah.
in Europe.
No, well, what it would mean is that the Welsh triads would be wrong, because they nominated it as the most important church in the UK twice. The land of charters would be wrong. The history would be wrong, because King Lairug, Alathurus, could not have renovated it around the year 160. Emrys Wedig and his mother could not have been living there when they met the ambassadors of Vortigern around 450.
Mm-hmm.
That massive histories would be wrong. Everything would be wrong if that church is not there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the man was ignorant to the nth degree on history.
But do you think there's an ulterior motive why he's writing that article then?
Oh,
Alan?
yeah.
Which is what?
Oh, well, they simply don't want us proving that church is the place of Arthur or anything else. They don't. I mean,
So,
you've got an Englishman, he's coming to Wales, he knows bugger all about Welsh history, use the word. And he's obviously out of his depth. He's feeling out of his depth because people are constantly talking about us, and he doesn't know what the hell to say.
Now, you applied for permission to dig up this site in February 1990.
That's right.
And the authorities were supposed to give 7 weeks to respond.
Yeah, they have 7 weeks maximum. They can tell you the next day if yes or no.
Right.
But they took 24, 25 weeks.
Right. And so you didn't start the dig until late summer because of that.
Yeah, we had angry meetings with members of Parliament about it. What the hell's going on? They were trying to stop us doing the dig. Didn't want to be proved wrong. We excavated the church in 1990, and we hired a whacking big marquee tent, 100 odd feet long, 30 feet wide, and we put this over the church. Put the entire thing under wraps. Hired some lighting. Got a generator up there to run that. Put a fridge up there for beer. And but you see, archaeologists are a bit primitive. They go out and it's pouring with rain and they're working in the rain. All they can do is stick a tent over it. But doesn't make sense, And we did manage. We were then told, oh, you can't just cut a trench to establish the age. You must excavate the entire church. We haven't got the bloody money for that, But hundreds of local people turned up. Masses of them. Couldn't cope with them. And so we did start going down. We found there had been 7 various stages of building. We were hit with the excavation in 1990 by a 100-mile-an-hour gale. Can you believe it? All the papers went up. We had 3 little tents, one for an office, one for tools, and one for people to sleep in at night. they were miles away. People would come in and bring in papers they'd found in the field to us, notes on the excavation, 5-10 miles away,
And this is where you found the King Arthur burial cross.
Yeah, the cross is there.
Just tell us about the cross, Alan.
Richard Melbourne found it.
Richard Melbourne. Was he an archaeologist?
No, he's one of the diggers.
One of the diggers.
And
okay.
he found it. And
it's just here on the table.
It's on there. Yeah, you want to see it?
Can I touch it with my hand, Alan, or
yeah,
you'd rather
you can
not?
touch it with your hand if you like.
Right. Okay. So tell us, Alan, what it's made from, because you've had it independently, scientifically
we asked,
analysed.
Yeah, we wrote to the National Museum of Wales and said, will you analyse it for us? No, if we're supposed to be forgers, we're not going to do that, are we?
Yeah.
We asked them to analyse it. They refused to analyse it. Some English archaeologists there refused to analyse it, okay?
But it's electrum. which is 79% silver, I believe.
Yeah, so we took it to the largest and most reputable company in this sort of business who do all the work for the oil companies and everybody else. And they've got all the systems there, and they have all the necessary tables and records historically, which show what the mix of various impurities would be in certain eras. You follow me?
Sure.
And they've tested it for us.
And tell us what the inscription on the front is.
Well, it says, Artorius. And there's a man on a horse. You can pick him out in the middle.
Oh, in the middle there.
That's Arthur, I suppose.
On this cross here, that's King Arthur. Yeah.
Should be.
Is that King Arthur 1?
Well, we think it should be, but it doesn't say it is.
Is it King Arthur 1 or 2 though? 2. King Arthur 2.
Yeah. But we got 5 feet down the shaft to try and get into the crypt, you see. 5.5 feet. And Pete Summan and and we got little rods of steel, which we could buy, steel rods. We tapped them down with a mallet, and they all went down to the same level. We found an area under 2 flat slabs that were about 6 feet long, 2.5 feet wide, and they were identical, but no markings on them. Like the double door, you go through a double door. And Alan Wishart, one of the archaeologists, excavated this, and we found the soil there. All the soil on the mountain is very black, heavy soil. But the soil in this area, about 5 feet by 5 feet, was light sandy stuff. It had been brought from somewhere else, you know? And he got down about 5.5 feet when the storm hit. So a friend named Pete Summan and myself got down. We got some steel rods and we poked them down and we tapped them with a mallet. And they all went down the same depth, about 2.5 feet. And they were hitting a flat surface, which sounded like a stone, you know. So we think there's a slab stone. We believe there's a crypt there, because this shaft is not there for nothing.
Which you think?
There's a shaft, there's clearly a shaft about 5 feet by 5 feet.
So you think the body of King Arthur's in there?
Could be.
Is that King Arthur 1 or 2?
Be 2.
King Arthur 2, right, okay.
King Arthur 1's in Warwick.
But because the dig was wrecked, you'd run out of money? Had you?
Yeah,
so you couldn't actually excavate the rest of it? I mean, is that not... Has no one been back there since?
It was wrecked. There were huge storms. It was battered to pieces. We put a 6-foot fence around it, which you can legally entitled to do, as long as it's within 1 yard of the walls, you see. And we put a lovely steel gate on it, and that's been torn down and removed.
Been torn down and removed?
Aye.
Right. What, by vandals or? Farmer, right, okay. So,
And certainly there's a lot up on that hill. Okay. Hell of a lot. Now in this church is a stone of King Ethael. Ethael was a brother of Morgan, and jointly Morgan and Ethael succeeded Arthur II. The stone of Ethael also names Illtyd, a first cousin of Arthur, and it also names on the bottom Arthmael. Arthmael, Iron Bear, is the normal calling of Arthur II. There are 2 other stones here. One is of Samson. Since Samson is the son of Anna, Anna was a daughter of King Moirig. Therefore, Samson is a nephew of King Arthur, because Anna and Arthur are brother and sister. And another stone names a King Howell and his son King Rhys. And that is probably of the 7th century, around 750. Again, descendants of Morgan and Ethael. So you've got descendants of Arthur here, and you've got Arthur named on a stone. And that's quite significant. We've come here because a stone was found in this castle. It's an ancient 6th century stone, and there are 4 names upon it. It says how King Arthmael, Iron Bear, who was Arthur II, is granting land to 3 people for religious purposes, presumably. One is Nertat. Nertat is a daughter of Brocken of Brecon, who's Arthur's first cousin. Another is Philly the Bishop, who was Ufelwyn, a bishop of Llandaff. And another one is Glwys, who is either Glwys Cernew, a father of King Gwyntlew, and Arthur arranged Gwynthlew's marriage to a daughter of Brecon, or alternatively, he's Glwys, a brother of St. Cadwch, and a son of Gwyntlew. Either way, all the characters on the stone are all genuine, historical 6th century characters. They all fit.
Wilson and Blackett have also located the site of the Battle of Baden and the battles of Camlan and Longbourth. These were located simply by translating Welsh place names on publicly available maps of Britain.
One thing that could not be destroyed was the remains of a huge land reclamation scheme mentioned in the life of St Genovasius. This massive engineering feat confirmed South Wales as the home of Arthur.
Gervasius is a Breton monk who works with 2,004 other monks building dikes. He was building dikes under the supervision of St Illtyd. St Illtyd is a first cousin of King Arthur, Arthur II, son of Myric. The dikes exist. There are masses of them. They run from the river. They used to run from the Taff in Cardiff to the Rummy River in Cardiff, from the Rummy River in Cardiff to the Ebble in Newport, from the other side of the Usk and the Ebble in Newport, eastwards again up to Chepstow. And the majority of them are still there. They're still in position. Reason for the dikes is that all the land behind them is well below sea level. So it was a huge land reclamation exercise, and masses of canals, like a checkerboard or chessboard system, cross and crisscross this landscape, draining it. This remarkable construction is post-Roman and pre-Norman. The interesting thing is that the life of Gervasius says Gervasius is working on the dikes in the land of Arthur. And Illtyd is the instructor or engineer in charge. So the land of Arthur is South East Wales.
If King Arthur was a Glamorgan king, where was his Camelot? Though today there may not be much to see, there was once a castle standing on this site. A wedding was recorded as taking place here as late as 1453. It was called the Yellow Fortress, or Caermelin. Could this be Camelot?
It may have got its name from the nearby sulphur springs of Yellow Wells Farm. There's a number of houses in the area, the grey house, the brown house, the blue house, the ancient manor houses. Yellow Wells Farm is just below. This place is Caer, a castle. Melin is yellow. So Caer, Melin can easily be seen, perhaps translated into sort of Norman French as Caermelot or Camelot. In this direction, you can see that's the south wall going along there. When we go over there, you'll see what a big drop it is. That's the south wall, down to the corner of the field. Then you've got, clearly, when we get down there, you film it better, an eastern wall and a north wall, there. And so you've got a large enclosed area. This was the area of this castle. And like I told you, it was a castle in 1453, and the main area. It was the main place of the entire area. Cardiff was in the parliamentary hundred of Keebor, not the other way around. This was the central, most important place in this entire district, this where you're standing now. And this was the place of the castle of the Glamorgan kings. It's quite possible. The whole point is it's also known as Keebor. And Keebor, C-U, means mutually together, and Boord means table. So Keebord means mutually together table. That's evocative in the Arthurian sense. And so until very recent times, this ancient field and castle was the most important place in this entire area. There's no doubt about that. And there's no doubt it was the ancient residence of the Glamorgan kings.
In Cardiff.
It's got two names. It's called Keebord. Key is mutually together, and board is table. How about it?
Round table.
Just below it is still Yellow Wells Farm. It was the Yellow Fort, Caermelot.
Camelot.
Caermelot.
So is this Arthur II who had Camelot?
Yes.
Not Arthur I?
I know.
So Arthur II had Camelot, had the round table.
Well, keyboard, keyboard. It was, even in Norman times, it was not you couldn't, it was the royal cantref, you couldn't tax it. It was not taxable.
This part of Cardiff?
That area. Yeah. Well, what we call the centre forts. In other words, the major fortresses were surrounded by a ring of little teeny outer fortresses as signalling places to signal inwards. And you get one over there is Pentra Myrig, head manor of King Myrig, Arthur's daddy. That's a centre fort. And then you got one that way, Caerleon, right? The castle of Leon the Mighty, Caerleon. They've confused Isca, the Roman fortress, with a Welsh fortress half a mile to the north of it called Caerleon. And they think the Roman fort is at Caerleon. It's not. Caerleon is actually a big Welsh fortress on a hill. So Arthur is always associated with Caerleon in all the legends and romances. They're the biggest hill forts in Britain. And most of you won't be able to see a thing, because you don't do anything with it. And they'll do anything to preserve it, protect it, anything. But this is Arthur's hill fort. This is Caerleon, Castle of Leon. And from here, looking down that side, you can see Malpas. Arthur's said to be looking down from his castle, watching people across his Malpas. Well, you can. But you couldn't see people from that Roman place, which they mistake as Caerleon. And this actually is the British fortress on a hill, where he would have been. And it's totally neglected, as you see. There's not a damn thing you can see. Most of you can't see anything, can't do anything. So, of course it's sad, because this is the place where the tourists would come. Now, the Palace of the Kings is just outside Lampeter Major.
Ah, right.
It covers about 4 or 5 acres. The walls stick up from under the ground. They started excavating about 1903. They were excavating 1903, and men in suits arrived. That means people from London, and stopped the excavation. One of the rooms is 50 feet long and so wide. They tried to say it was destroyed in 293 when Caron or Carausius was killed, but it's no radio jab and dating its own end of the Arthurian kingdom. There you can see it there.
There's the palace in the middle. This is this ancient palace of the kings of...
Bits of marble all over the place. I got a piece the size of one of those books, marble, I brought from there. So where they brought marble from, I don't know. Apparently, the bit they excavated, there are mosaics on the floors and murals on the walls.
Wow.
So,
and it's not Roman?
No, it's the British king. Yeah, so we've got a buried city under Caerleon, the hill where St. Peter's Church went Arthur II, and nobody's doing anything about it. Anywhere else on planet Earth, they'd be digging it up. And a buried palace of the kings.
Okay.
From my own perspective, there are some very simple observations I would like to make to conclude this programme. Wilson and Blackett started in 1976 trying to find the truth about King Arthur. After 14 years of intensive research, they purchased a church which this research was suggesting was the likely burial site of the legendary king. They excavated that site in 1990, and an artefact was unearthed by a digger. This occurred when Wilson and Blackett were not at the site. The object is a solid electrum cross, which could have only been made for an important or wealthy person. It has been dated to the period of Arthur, which is prior to 600 AD, and has an inscription which reads, "For the soul of Arthur." What are the chances of finding that artefact by coincidence at the very site they claimed could be the King Arthur burial site? The academic establishment will not look at these findings, which suggests there is something seriously wrong with these academics, who get paid with our tax money to run universities and sit in academic departments. Wilson and Blackett have always been and are still willing to work with the academic establishment in an effort to help find further truths within our history. If there are any academics watching, please contact them. They are ready and willing to speak to you.
A buried city in Britain? If they found one in Egypt, they'd be going bananas. Wouldn't they?
It does
It
beg a belief,
the imagination.
doesn't it?
In May 2012, Richard D. Hall will be speaking throughout the UK and Ireland. Ticket and venue details can be found on the richplanet.net website.